All right, listen, I'm not gonna even hold you guys. All right. Uh, Deontay Wilder has no plans on fighting Anthony Joshua. Okay, dude's a straight con man, straight hustler. You know, he's taking advantage of the audience that he has, the people that the fanboys that he have, and even those fanboys, those content creators are taking advantage of Deontay Wilder's fanboys that have that agenda, and y'all know what agenda I'm talking about. Um, there's money to be made, and right now the race baiting stuff is the way to go. Like that's the wave that everybody is on right now. That's the tip, even though it's not real. They're just gonna jump on that and ride that wave, and that's what it's really all about. And it's a damn shame. Um, YouTubers and even Wilder himself, calling out Eddie Hearn, saying all this stuff about he's milking Joshua, the white man milking Joshua and all that. Like, so what let me ask you something. You guys that are diehard Wilder, ride and die Wilder fans, like, how do you feel about Shelly Finkel? Like, how do you feel about dude? Because he's exactly what you guys are saying Eddie Hearn is. So, like, how do y'all feel about him? Or you just riding with him because he's with Wilder? Like, what is that? Like, how do you feel about this dude? Because, at first I was like, you know what, Wilder, the thing is, maybe Wilder really wants to fight Joshua, and maybe he just can't because he's locked in a contract that we can't see. He's locked into something with these managers that he have. There's probably stuff that's going on that we don't know about, and still don't know about. But like, how you feel about this dude and him coming out and just speaking for him like the way that he does? Just steps in like, all right, you know what? Whenever the questions are asked about business, he just steps in, you know, and gives his 2 cents while Wilder just sit in the background, just quiet. Like, how do you feel about that? It makes me feel a certain way, you know, and I'm speaking to the people that have that agenda. Like, how does that make you feel? This guy just pops up like, listen, you know, we don't have any plans on fighting Anthony Joshua this year. Like, he's already, we'll talk about it in 2020. We'll talk about it in 2020. It's not even going down. We'll talk about it in 22. How does that make y'all feel at this point? You know? And like I said, I would say that maybe Wilder really wants to fight this dude, but Wilder's been lying on camera for I don't know how long. It's been at least a couple years now. Because Wilder, not for nothing, say what you want about the way he fights and stuff. Not for nothing, he wasn't always like this. He was always kind of humble. And when the confidence wasn't really there like that, he wasn't really going crazy talking reckless about Anthony Joshua. It wasn't really until after the Klitschko fight. And after Joshua was on top of the world a couple of years back, excuse me, from beating Vladimir Klitschko, that's when he changed a little bit. Starting going on interviews saying that these guys were running and ducking him and all of this stuff. Like, that wasn't true. Like, where were you all this time? You went to the Klitschko fight. You was out there when it happened. And there was no point that you ever even tried to even come close to Anthony Joshua. You was up there entertaining Tony Bellew, a fight with him. You didn't even try to come close to that man while you were out there. You didn't even meet him. You didn't even shake the guy's hand. Like, you didn't do nothing while you were out there. And this is why I feel like he's a con man, because you bringing stuff, you changing the whole narrative and making it seem like it's about race. And then you go on a radio station saying that this guy got what's it called? A restraining order against you. Or you heard, that's what you said. You said you heard this guy had a restraining order, so you didn't want to go out there when he fought Joseph Parker. Like, when you make these kind of statements, it makes me feel like you have no integrity and you're just conning these weak-minded people out here that's gonna run with this stupid ass agenda that they have. You know, you're just running with the whole wave. That's what you're just gonna run with. You're just gonna ride with that because you really have no backbone. Now, if you just, I mean, it's obvious you're ducking at this point, but if you had just kept doing your thing here and just like, I would respect a fighter that says, I'm just not ready for the fight. You know? Because I remember when Joshua a couple years ago, when he was on Sky Sports, he said that, you know, he wasn't sure if he was going to fight Deontay Wilder in a couple of years. You know? I remember when he said that on Sky Sports and everybody made a big deal about it, you know? But after that, he changed his tune because Wilder was talking that talk. Wilder was talking crazy. So this guy changed his tune and he was just pushing the Wilder fight. Now he's been, for the last year and a half or so, he's just been pushing the Wilder fight. And Wilder's the one that's like, nah, and doing these little tricks like going on social media one day, you got 24 hours to hit me back, 50 million, what's up? Like that, when has negotiations ever worked that way? That's not even realistic. But these people with agendas ran with it because there's money to be made. These YouTubers ran with it because they know they have an audience that are delusional. So they taking advantage of that. They don't even care if it's not true. And Wilder is taking advantage of them because he already know there's people out there that think that don't think at all. They're not using logic at all. You know? Once you say shit like, oh, this guy's milking you, yo, they gonna run with it. They gonna run with it. Just like this Barry Hearn situation. You know, they're gonna run with it. Even though the man is clearly talking about slaves and contracts. And don't get it twisted. When I watched that, I didn't even think that was worth making a whole video about. But when I watched it, oh yeah, I don't like the way the terms he used. I know what he's saying, but I didn't like his choice of words at all. You know, I would have definitely felt uncomfortable if he said that in front of me like that. I probably would have to say something to him. But I understand what he's saying. What he's saying is true. Because it's just that the fact that Barry Hearn is a white man and he's addressing a black fighter that's sitting right next to him. So I understand why it made me feel awkward and made a ton of people feel awkward. But I understand what he's trying to say. He said, we're slave traders. He's saying we're slave traders. You know, we pimping these fighters. Now these fighters are trying to be more independent. You know, the biggest slave trader is Don King. You know, look at the Tim Witherspoon documentary. You know, look that up. We know what Don King was doing with all these fights. He's still, isn't Imam trying to sue him right now? The dude is still pimping fighters. So Hearn was talking about that. But the choice of words, when you're a white man sitting next to a black fighter and you say, you know, we was handing out slave deals. We were slave traders. Terrible choice of words. Terrible choice of words. So I did felt a way when he said about it. I did. But I'm not going to run with it because these guys want to deflect off what's really going on, because the recent news is Shirley Finkel saying that these guys have no intention of fighting Anthony Joshua for the rest of the year. The recent news is Ortiz and his manager turning down the $7 million. That's the real news that's going on. That's what's really happened. But in order to deflect all that, let's talk about Barry Hearn and his slave stuff. That's what these guys want to do. But they don't want to acknowledge what Shirley Finkel is saying about not even entertaining a Joshua fight this year. And you know what? You're always going to get that one or two dudes that's going to say something about the $50 million deal. Man, the $50 million deal, the money is even further past that at this point. We're even talking bigger money at this point. Joshua would be even if Wilder was offered 40 million for one fight out of the two, 40 million for two fights, 100 million for three. We're talking bigger money. What do you think Anthony Joshua is going to get paid if he got paid that much? So we talking bigger money now, and Wilder still fucking turned that down. The dude was never credible to begin with. My man already came out and said, listen, they starting from the basics, training, preparing for this fight with Brazil. They're going back to the basics. They have no interest of fighting Joshua. They had a scary moment over there with Tyson Fury. He's getting his ass whooped the whole damn fight. But before he dropped him in the 12th round, these dudes are shook. They want to prepare. They don't feel like they're ready for Anthony Joshua. And even if Wilder felt that he was, his handlers don't believe in him. At the end of the day, they want no smoke with Anthony Joshua whatsoever. Let's quit going back and forth with it. Listen, let's just talk about, I mean, it's funny because I just did ask you guys a question the other day about what fight you were interested in more, the Joshua fight with Ruiz or the Wilder fight with Brazil. And I think the last time I checked, I think it was like the votes were like something like, I don't know, 58% to 42% towards Joshua. I mean, that really don't mean nothing, you know. It was like 600 plus votes. It really don't mean nothing, you know. But I saw a few of the comments in there. People were saying, like, to be honest with you, I don't even care about neither one of these fights. And I don't blame them. I don't blame people for not even caring. But this is what we stuck with because this is boxing. And people are the power of agendas and cult followings is always going to be there, and it's always going to create an argument of why these fights are not taking place. You know, I personally think at this point we're gonna move on from it. I'm gonna move on from it. Now that I know that these guys are not gonna fight Wilder, there's no point to keep making videos. Like, I already closed out the Luis Ortiz situation. There's no point of talking anymore about that. Joshua's going to have to fight who he fights. Wilder is just going to fight whoever he chooses to fight. The WBC is going to continue protecting him because they're not even going to enforce a Dillian White fight with Wilder because even though he's ranked number 1 and he has been, they're not even going to make him the mandatory, and he's sitting right there. At this point, like, what argument is there to be made? Like, this guy has been lying. This guy's turning out offers. He's not even responding to emails, all that stuff. This guy has no interest in fighting Anthony Joshua at this point. He's going to fight everybody in the world. Luis Ortiz, Tyson Fury. He's going to fight anybody he can except Anthony Joshua. And it's sad because now these guys could be making history by unifying, becoming undisputed. But it's not going to happen because this man clearly does not even want to unify. I mean, Shirley Finkel even exposed that the fact that they didn't think he was ready to fight Vladimir Klitschko. When Wilder was saying, even him and his following was even saying that Klitschko was ducking him. Dude, we know that's not true. Your manager even said that's not true. Like, what more is there to really say at this point? You ducked 2 fighters. You turned down $100 million deal. Like, what else is there to say about this man? There's nothing else to say. He does not represent. I'm sad to say that he's an American fighter. He does not represent us. You got a guy that's coming out here, hanging around in Brooklyn and hanging around in New York, talking about, I'm in your whole town. Where's Wilder at? You got this man from London out here, coming out here, talking crazy. He's here fighting next month. He's here in New York fighting. And you're going to let that slide? And there's people that's actually defending that kind of behavior? And you know what's sad? Like, a lot of these Wilder fans, I've been on this channel for a long time. There's a lot of fans, there's a lot of people that have channels on here that used to defend Wilder and don't anymore. because they see what's going on here. Like, if you guys would just stand up and say, nah, man, I ain't rocking with that. Wilder gotta fight Joshua. Instead of making excuses for the reason why he's not fighting him, then we can probably get the fight. But as long as there are more fans defending this kind of behavior, the way he's moving, some real sucker shit, man. That's why he's going to continue doing it. This is why they're going to continue. There's no pressure on him. Because there's guys going to defend him because they have agendas. Because they have these inferiority complexes. Hating on Joshua. They hating on this man. They're going to try to turn... Like, they making everything about this fight that's irrelevant. They trying to deflect and make it about everything else but the actual fight. The man is saying, I want to fight you next. And he even going out and try to fight the one man that Wilder beat that is credible. Try to fight him too, and they couldn't even make that fight happen. Like, when are you guys going to wake up? I just made a video about this the other day. The PBC will send, what did I say? They'll send Felix Diaz over there to go and fight a Terrence Crawford. You know? They'll let a Dominic Brazil go over there and fight a Anthony Joshua. Now they're sending Andy Ruiz over there to fight. But they don't send those dudes like a Wilder or Ortiz. They don't want no parts. They don't want to make the fight happen because anything that's going to give Joshua more value, they don't want to do it. They're really, really calculated. They're not here for boxing. They're here to take advantage and just make their money. They're not trying to better the sport. They're not trying to give the fights we need. They're pimping people for pay-per-views, shitty pay-per-view cards, shitty pay-per-view fights, and that's all they're doing. You know, it's a damn shame, and people riding with it because they have agenda, because they stuck in here about some stuff that has nothing to do with boxing. But they're making it seem like it's about, you know, these agendas they have. They're pulling it and forcing it on boxing when it doesn't even exist. Well, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. Let me hold that. Let me fall back. It doesn't exist. It does exist. But this situation right now, we got two top fighters, two champions in the heavyweight division. All we want is the fight to happen. And instead of making a fight happen, they're making it about everything else that doesn't involve the actual fight. And you guys know I'm being honest here. You guys know, you hear it. You guys know damn well. They're pimping the game. They're pimping the system. They're doing anything for YouTube views. It's a damn shame. And Wilder knows it too. He's a straight up con man. He is a con man because he's lying on camera about stuff. They're trying to turn this guy. This guy went and fought better fighters than you in half the amount of time. And unified. You haven't even unified yet. You ain't even fighting the top number one ranked guy in the WBC. You don't want to fight him. It's a damn shame. Anyway, I'm out. I made this longer than what I wanted to make it short, but I'm out. I'll be back on here tomorrow with more videos.